Check one, two, three. Hey everybody, it's Michael Helms, also known as Michael the Sound Guy, and this is the Location Sound Podcast. You know, each episode we talk with location sound mixers, boom ops, and other industry pros about the various aspects of recording sound on location, whether it's for feature and independent films, TV commercials, interviews, any time where dialogue from actors is recorded. I started my career in the recording studios in New York City with some of the big artists back in the day, and later on projects for networks like HBO, Sci-Fi Channel, and the Cartoon Network. As time went by, I got out of the studio and began working in production sound. Whether you're a seasoned veteran or just starting out, thanks for joining us. Okay, my guest today is a production sound mixer and boom op, currently based out of New York City. I'd like to welcome Anna Khromova.
Yay!
Hi, Anna.
Hi, Michael. It's really great to be here.
So glad you could be here. All right, so as we kind of get started, let's talk about what's in your audio kit. So kind of give us an overview of what's in your bag and what gear you use.
Oh my. About this, answering this question, I feel like I did it so many times because every time when we meet up with sound mixers, when they visiting, for example, New York, when they from LA or Atlanta, we're sitting down, we're talking about microphones, what's in our kit. So yeah, definitely let's talk about it. So my main machine to record and mix is Sound Devices 833. As my backup recorder, I use my Mix Pre 6, and this is actually what I'm using right now as my audio interface. And this actually Mix Pre 6 was very helpful during pandemic when all productions, they start doing Zoom sessions. So when client and director, they usually behind their computer screen. So Mix Pre 6 really helped me a lot. For my wireless system, I use Electrosonics. Those old 411As never let me down, love them a lot. For my transmitters, I use original Electrosonics 400 series transmitters, as well as those tiny one, the SSMs from Electrosonics as well. Love those, especially because I do a lot of fashion shows. And when I work with kids, it's just beautiful how you can hide them on those tiny bodies, and no one would ever guess where the transmitter is hidden. Love those. So what else? Oh, of course, I put all that beauty in my amazing K-Tech Stingray Junior bag, as well as that I use with my harness also from K-Tech. Love this pair. For my lavalier microphones, I use COS 11 mics from Sankeng. For my boom mics, I use my lovely Sennheiser 416 for outdoor situation. And for my indoor dialog situation, I use MKH 50.
And what timecode boxes do you like to use?
So for timecode, I use Technicals. And I very often hear on set that camera operator, they just, when they asking for timecode, they actually mention in Technicals. So it's already kind of like the name for timecode boxes. So yeah, I love those. I have quite a few, I think 3 or 4 of those, and it's really great for multiple camera situations on set.
Okay. Now, you mentioned using your Mix Pre 6. Did you use it as an audio interface?
Yeah, but when, during pandemic, it was such a common situation when we, for example, on set, it might be just Gopher, DP, and myself with the actual talent, and all other people like client, if we're doing, this is by the way how I did a few videos for Microsoft, and just the all marketing team, they behind the screen, the director behind the screen. So we pretty much just setting computer just next to the camera for eyeline, where director from the screen asking his questions, and I'm being able to feed really high quality audio from directly from my 833 to Mix Pre, and from Mix Pre 6 to directly to the computer, allow them to monitor the whole thing, the performance, the interview, the quality of the audio, of course, as well. So yeah, it was a really great tool to use during pandemic. I did it a lot.
Did they have any like sync issues? So you have the camera feeding as well as a separate audio feed?
I think just no. Usually when I'm on set and we have a live stream to the crew in different location, we always used my setup with Mix Pre-6. We never use the audio that I feed into the camera. However, for syncing purposes, we always like B plan and C plan, so like plus two technicals. Of course, I'm also always send my audio signal to camera as well.
Okay. So did the camera, was that coming into the computer as well, like via HDMI?
It depends. Sometimes, yes. But to be honest, in most situations, they were happy to take a look on pictures that DP sent them before we start shooting to confirm the frame. And then they were just happy with audio, just really talking to person, use the camera that like inbuilt camera and computer to see reaction of the talent, and just using my audio to keep interview going.
Okay. All right. That's good. You're originally from Russia.
Yes.
What was your life growing up there? And how did you get into audio?
So back there, I was born and raised in really tiny town in Russia. Then I for college, I went to a bigger one, and then eventually ended up in Moscow when I work as an engineer. So actually from Russia, I have master degree in engineering, and I work as an engineer for a couple of years, but I always was interested in theater, filmmaking. During my student years, I always participated in different festivals, and this creative part, always was a huge part of my life. And when I decided to, I need a challenge, I want to see places, and I decided to go to New York and to learn language, to see how's everything here. I find out that actually I can do what I really want to do with my life. So I just left aside idea to do my MBA degree here, because it was my initial idea to go to business school here in New York, then go back to Russia and keep climbing the ladder, in a company. So I decided to actually stay and work here in a film industry. So I went to New York Film Academy for 6 weeks course, documentary filmmaking. It was a tiny one, but it actually helped me a lot. I built my network, I met people, I worked, this is how I found those first projects. I worked just on students' films a lot in the beginning. And then I just meet amazing sound people community here in New York, and they helped me a lot.
You had mentioned there was a Sound Devices article about you using the 833, and I'd like to ask our listeners to check it out on the Sound Devices website. But it mentioned you like using the Dugan Auto Mix.
Since I'm my own boom operator, so I'm working from my bag, and Dugan Auto Mix is really my go-to way to get a really nice mixer location, especially when you use multiple wireless. I pretty much, to be honest, use it all the time. Only maybe not when I'm in situation when I can sit down and it's a two people interview or something, and I can on my device manually mix. Otherwise, it's my go-to way to get the best quality sound possible.
Have you ever thought about getting the Cedar plugin?
Yes. I don't know, we always think what else we can get, how else we can improve our kit, and it's always buying stuff. Gotham, it's my go-to place. I always make a joke that, guys, I'm working for you, because every time I'm getting a check, I'm bringing it back to you to get something new. So I was thinking about it. I'm still considering, because I actually recently started using AQ on my sound devices, and it's sometimes really helpful. So you can get rid of all low noises, handling boom noise. So for now I'm pretty happy with the AQ.
Okay. Yeah, I have an 833 as well, and I turned on the demo of Cedar a few times, and I was like, this is great. I need this.
We need post-production guys to still be employed. So, let's just don't give maybe this option to productions too often.
Yes. I know sometimes, some of the smaller projects where they can't afford it, probably low budget in general. And so I always think about, wouldn't that be nice just to have that as an offering?
That's true. I totally agree. However, I don't know, I'm still not from maybe experience, but from talking to other sound mixers seasoned one, learn that they always prefer to give productions the raw sound, that in this case they can pretty much do everything in post. And this is kind of still my mentality, so I would rather prefer to really capture as many frequencies, layers of sound on location, and then in post they can decide how much of editing they can use on it. So this is, I'm kind of considering, but still not sure if should I do that or not.
That's a good philosophy. So what's your favorite type of project you like to do?
Because I came from kind of documentary world, I did documentary filmmaking at New York Film Academy. Honestly, by the way, during this pandemic year, I went back to school and I did the whole year at New York Film Academy. So documentary project, they definitely have a sweet spot in my heart. First of all, because of people, when you're able to tell those stories, heartbreaking or inspiring, and you're right there. Also, sometimes by doing documentaries, you're a part of historic moment. It's you capturing stories that you probably one day would love to tell your grandkids, hopefully. However, to be honest, I really enjoy doing narrative stuff and features in particular for several reasons. First of all, I feel like on that kind of project, I grow the most as a professional. Because I'm very heavily involved in pre-production, I usually be able to contact post-production team, and we kind of can talk through microphones, what kind of Foley they would like me to capture on locations, or they maybe prefer to use libraries, and I don't have to spend like production's time on it. But usually, no, of course, we all love to like record right there. Sometimes they requested stereo microphones in order for me to provide these like truly vivid, alive sound for them. So yeah, those feature projects, they are my favorite one. So far I did 5 feature films and have 2 more coming up this summer and fall. So really excited about that.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, I was reading that you stayed busy during the pandemic and you did volunteer work for Engines for Change. So kind of tell us about that.
As I mentioned, pandemic, it was really weird in New York. It was so quiet, nothing happening. And by the way, I'm a rider. I ride motorcycle. And that's how I have a bunch of friends who also ride motorcycles here in New York, and I'm an active part of motorcycle community here. So, and what happened when pandemic happened in end of the March, beginning of April, motorcycle community, they were pretty much the first people who came to the front line and start delivering masks, start helping people, seniors, for example, to delivering food for them. And it was incredible how they drove actually medical workers from hospitals to home and like back, because in the beginning we were so afraid, we had no idea what's about this virus. So not to be in the car or not to use public transportation actually was huge for those medical workers. They didn't want additional exposure. So yeah, it was really great. So many in New York, so many beautiful stories happening, and we felt like, you know what, those stories, they needed to be told. So we grab our equipment, we grab our skills, and we went there. So we start shooting. We pretty much, we were shooting through the April and May and the beginning of June. And then it's still in post-production, but I'm really looking to see this film. I think it's going to be a feature-length documentary about all those beautiful stories and as people and how we all live through this very difficult, time.
Yeah, and the whole crew was volunteers, right?
Yeah, it was kind of like selfish in a way as well. I think we all felt like nothing going on happening, no production coming. But we sitting pretty much on our equipment and all the stories just happening around us. So it was, honestly, it was so natural. Just let's go and shoot, because we felt like those stories, they need to be told. So, and it's also why I mentioned it was kind of selfish. It was really nice to be just outside and doing what we really enjoy doing, making movies.
Yes. I do some volunteer projects from time to time if I'm not busy, and people, they're very thankful. They're very appreciative of those things, so especially if it's for a good cause.
Yeah, same.
Now, you also worked on a documentary called Black Girls Ride, so tell us about that one.
Ooh, this one. This movie, it's one of the projects I mentioned before that probably gonna tell stories to my grandkids one day, hopefully. So for this one, we did a cross-country ride and we followed the journey of Portia Taylor. Portia Taylor is also, she's an active member of LA motorcycle community. So she got an offer to speak on a March on Washington event in Washington, D.C. So we flew to LA, did 4 days cross-country ride. We stopped at every gas stations to picture those interactions with locals, so like girls between each other. By the way, all bikers, they were females, and it was so incredible to see, like breathtaking, when in our final destination, Washington, D.C., it was over 100 women on bikes was riding through the Washington, D.C. to Freedom Plaza. And it was very challenging for my equipment, for myself as well, for all of us, but at the same time it was truly rewarding. If you imagine me standing there on Lincoln Memorial stairs in front of the thousands of people in that historic moment and recording the Portia's speech that she was giving in front of the crowd, it was truly, truly magical and memorable for me. And I feel like actually it's a great moment to talk a little bit about challenges that I faced during this project. I feel like I really did a great, smart move by putting 2 transmitters on Porsche, because with all those TV crews around and those productions, it's pretty much only 1 transmitter was working all the time. So it's like they were like on and off because all those antennas, all those people around, so it was very challenging. Another thing, it was the temperature. We was riding through Arizona, Texas, and it was over 100 degrees outside. And would you imagine them pouring gallons of iced water over themselves and through their gear to cool themselves down? I have no idea that this is how it works. So my microphones, everything was soaked, my transmitters, everything was soaked. So in the end of the day, I actually just put everything in a huge bag of rice. And this is how I feel like I saved my equipment. So yeah, it was very, very stressful situation for me, but we went through it. It was really great ride and great project to work on.
Okay. Now, did you get to ride with them on a motorcycle, or did you?
No. In order to capture their ride, we was in a car following them.
Were there any other miking challenges that you had to work with?
With the wind, it worked very well. I put a Rycut fur cover on my mic, and also I put microphone under the leather jacket. So how it worked, yeah, of course you can hear slightly that it's kind of covered while they're riding, but at the same time with all those noises outside, it was totally fine because I, in the end, actually getting what they talking about while they're riding. But when they stopped, they opened their jackets, and in this case, I had such beautiful, like full sound of them, like talking. It's really great quality. I rely a lot on lavalier mics on that project because what happened, you never know what's going to happen when you're doing documentary. We're in a car behind, and thanks to electrosonics, I had great range and the distance from that I can record their sound. So you never know. Sometimes you're somewhere behind, but they already stopped and people start talking to them. So it was crucial to use those lavalier microphones to capture that sound. From a heat perspective, it was, I think, great. Just a great test for my even sound devices A33. I never worked before in such a kind of hot conditions, so it was a great way to check my gear and myself as well.
Was the volume of the motorcycles really loud?
Apparently. But it's again, Cos 11s, they did a great job. Also, of course, I boomed as well when we stopped as soon as I can get of the car, and I was running there right to the location next to them and start booming them. So yeah, my 416 microphone did a great job as well.
Okay. Now, what expendables do you like to use when you're wiring talent?
My kind of go-to in wiring people is to put microphones on their clothing, Because when it's on their skin, I sometimes can get this rustle sound of clothing touching the microphone. When I put microphone on cloth, it's never happening. So for that reason, I usually use those tiny Ursa mounts for COS 11. Kind of square shaped. They're really great. And also just the one that go together with their COS 11 microphones, these rubber squares. So yeah, if I need to put a special between buttons, it's my always go-to way. And by the way, I saw on Facebook a few times a discussion how many people prefer to run cables from mic to the transmitter. And some prefer like going directly down to kind of stomach and then under the belt, under the strap, go back to the transmitter. I don't know, for me it works the best when I run cable through the chest, over the shoulder and to the back. So in this case it's never on a way. And yeah, and to hide and to place my transmitters, I always use Viviana straps. I have different colors, different lengths, so yeah, it's my pretty much go-to way to mic people.
Yeah, I've done both. You know, sometimes I go over the shoulder, sometimes I go down. I started using, I got some of the Ursa chest straps, the really thin ones, so it just goes right under the chest and around to the back. So that works good as well.
That's great. I recently got this strap, but what I'm trying to do is actually I want to try to use them, to use this tiny kind of thinner strap to put my transmitter in a Ursa, those tiny pockets, and then on this strap, because what's happening right now, it's this extreme heat. I sometimes hear complaints from actors that they're not comfortable, they're too hot wearing those wide straps. So I don't know, let's see, maybe I'll try something like that with a just thinner strap.
Another project you did was a feature called Hideout by Chris, is it Roselli?
Yes, it was a feature film by Chris Roselli. I loved this project probably because it's genre. It was my ever first horror film, and the art department and as well as makeup artist, they created such an incredible world and very terrifying one. So it was really great to work on this project. Cast was amazing, the crew, and I think what's also why I loved it that much, because it was during pandemic. It happened during August. What helped us to make it happen, that all of us, we was living together. Some of us were living in actually in the house where we were shooting. So can you imagine what a fun going to bathroom in the middle of the night next to cut it off face that hanging on a wall and all those skulls of animals and people and bones around the house. It was fun. So yeah, we were living all together. We was tasted on a regular basis and everything was cooked pretty much in the house. So yeah, producer Tony, she created a really safe environment for us, and we pretty much like kids were living together, making movies and having a lot of fun. And again, those special effects, it was really just masterpiece.
Well, what were some of the miking situations that you had to deal with?
For miking, I wire everyone, because sometimes we don't even have time for blocking or rehearsal, so you're kind of trying to figure out what the movement going to be on the fly. So yeah, it's kind of basic techniques what they just explained you earlier, how I mic people. And then I just boomed everyone. And what was very helpful that up front we talked to post-production sound guy, and he like, you know what, you don't need to use any wireless. I prefer boom. I'm gonna use boom for everything. And with this in mind, of course I mic'd everyone, but it was really helpful because sometimes if I'm sure, okay, I checked their wireless, everything clean, sweet, nice, level, on point. So sometimes I just change on my recorder headphone settings to listen boom only, and then I'm purely my own boom operator. I have this mindset, actually I learned it from Ken Strain. He's an incredible boom operator from Los Angeles, and I did his course, Boom Right. And we met here in New York also. We had a beautiful chat, kind of again, like what we're doing right now, what's your miking techniques and what is yours, what's in your kit and microphones, etc., etc. So what I loved about his mindset as well, that you can remix your ISOs in post, but you never can reposition the boom mic, because that's it, that recorded. So sometimes when I'm set, I really am paying the most of my attention to how I boom people. It needs to be on point every time. And actually, I heard on your podcast that you sometimes about us asking about the worst kind of set experience, and I have one. Actually, because of how precious for me booming and how precious for me getting the best sound, and usually it's from boom.
Well, tell us the worst experience.
So just disclaimer, I think I love all my projects. I really, truly believe that being on set, this is the best ever what can happen to you. Set, it's just the best workplace because we all really love what we are doing. We enjoy and we like kids playing games and making movies. It's fun. So the worst experience what I had with booming, it was a short film. We did it for one day only. It was fun. It was for actually a couple of influencers from TikTok, a couple millions followers, both of them. One of them was a director, and they had a really nice production company. So it was great production. I did my best, like, of course, both of them was mic'd and it was a couple more people, but most of the time it was just two people. And I did my best moving. I was like on point every time. Even when, if you can imagine, like those tiny bathroom sets, I don't know, like each short film is supposed to have a bathroom scene. It's like, it has to be. So like we're in a bathroom, they both sitting in a bathtub, they talking to each other, like whispering, and like camera operator, he built a dolly in this bathroom. And he was operating camera on a dolly. He was sitting on a toilet. I was standing right there. Also, people suggesting, oh, maybe you just can use wireless. Like, they both like, I mean, no, it's need to be boom. It's going to be so awesome. And like, yeah, you can plant microphone, but honestly speaking, I'm not fan of planted microphones. I feel like if you don't have control over your position of your mic, it's never the best quality sound you can get. So I was right there. It was awesome. And then in the end of the day, I was so proud of myself. I noticed an editor who was on set all the time and like, dude, how are you doing? By the way, I know that we're not gonna have a post-production sound mix on here. So how are you gonna like just mix my tracks? He like, for this project? Oh, I'm just gonna use lavs. And it was very low moment for me. I feel like for the first time on set, I almost cried. I always like, you know what? So I don't know. It's like, I even went to producer and I like, you know what? I truly understand, but maybe we can just, invest some and just to bring post-production sound mixer, or maybe even like to make some suggestions. She's like, Anna, those kids, they don't care about sound. They're gonna watch it on their phones. They don't really care, but no worries. One day you will work on a film where they will appreciate your high quality sound. No worries. I'm like, thank you. But yeah, I still kinda, have this feeling. It's like the ghost that haunted me. And yeah, because we're always doing our best, and when for sure that it's such a simple adjustment and using your sound in the proper way, they can elevate their project on a totally different level. I just feel very sad.
Yes.
Yeah. And I just like with this particular, I just imagine myself sitting in the middle, somewhere in the middle, maybe like in a kitchen, and maybe just drinking tea for the whole day and just pushing my red button because everyone mic'd and just was monitoring their lavaliers, and that's it. It was, but I would never probably do that, but you got the point.
I think putting a lavalier on people as well as booming, it just gives options. And then, because stuff happens, sometimes I worked on a short film and it was lots of wardrobe changes. We did like a 5-day progression like in one day. So our main actress was constantly having wardrobe changes. And some of the costumes were perfect, the mic fit and sounded perfect, but then other times it was noisy, and the boom saved us. So it just, you have that option with the boom, and it was perfect and clean, and it wasn't rustling, depending on the outfit. So, and sometimes it was happening, we were going so quick, we didn't have time to switch, or stop and fix a mic. So having them, a boom and a lav at the same time, I think that's really the way to go. And I know sometimes, and then if there is a little noise, you got it on the boom. So that's my favorite.
Same. You want to play safe, and we need backup all the time. And this is actually, when you mention like multiple outfits, this is probably the only time when I'm putting microphones on people's bodies, on their skin, because when they're switching like costumes, they don't really have to think about remiking them. So it most of the time works great. And about like this noise from their lavalier mic, sometimes actually having this noise on the boom as well. I recently did a very fun commercial with Gigi Hadid for Maybelline. And she was wearing such a beautiful shirt with the multiple like crystals on it, and it looks incredible. But when she's moving, she like all those crystals, they just rubbing each other and such. It was very like noisy, and it doesn't matter. It was not about my lavalier, because like no, it was clean. It was not clean audio, but it just picked up this rubbing noise from those crystals, and it's same for the boom microphone. So what I did actually, I just to be safe, I just let know the director and producer, they heard the playback that I gave them. They like, this is it, what it is. Like, we can do anything about it. So Gigi was such a like cute, such a sweetie. She like, oh, Anna, I try not to move so much. I mean, no, Gigi, do you? We just like, we find out something. So yeah, sometimes even boom mic, it's not the answer if like outfit, it's really too crazy, but of course, beautiful.
Yes. And you also worked on a commercial with Nelson Mandela's grandson?
Yes. This is also why I love what I'm doing. Yeah, it was for their Mandela Day with Keith. And I don't know, to me, Nelson Mandela, it's such a huge historic figure, and to be able to really to shake a hand of his grandson and to be with him in one room, it just was huge thing to me. I'm not that often around A-list people and celebrities, but this time it was not even about that. It was about like, it was true honor to just be in the same room with this person who still just support people and just to bring them together. It was really beautiful project to work on.
Well, what was your all-time favorite project you've worked on so far?
I think the one that I just described, and it's funny, it's kind of crazy that all of them happened during this pandemic year. I really loved to tell those stories about people getting through pandemic and helping others. And the story of Portia Taylor and how we were standing there in front of the crowd and, just being in that moment. And my narrative experience, Hideout was still, I did a few features after, but this horror film, it still have, I think, special place in my heart. I really enjoyed working on this project.
And also, let's see, recently you were got the offer to teach at the New York Film Academy?
Oh, yes. Isn't that something? Yeah, it was, I don't know, it's really honor for me, especially because I alumni of New York Film Academy. I did documentary filmmaking there, and it was so huge for me that when they contact me and offer to become a teacher there and to teach sound at New York Film Academy, it's an honor. I'm just about to start. I just did one workshop there, and I got why people teach, because it's such a fulfilling feeling to see how they become better in what they're doing. We were shooting a few scenes, and I just helped the guy who was doing sound just with some notes, how to boom in a more efficient way, how like on the levels, on the posture, some techniques. And when you see how he picking up those notes and suggestions, and he become better and better with each take, it's really something. So yeah, I'm really excited about this opportunity, not only to teach others how to become the best sound person to provide the best quality sound to the client, but also to filmmakers and to cinematographers to give an idea how to appreciate a sound person on set and how to help them to actually record for them the best possible sound.
Oh, that's great. If you can tell the students like one thing, the most important thing, what would you tell them?
Do your research and prepare for your shoot. I feel like doing sound, it's all about preparation. That's probably because I'm so anxious to forget something, I never did it. And I usually can't sleep before start shooting, before the first day of the project. But this is worked really well for me. When you think through everything, then you did your research, you look for names. So I know kind of what style of the director, what's DP's kind of also shooting style, what their previous projects. So when I'm on set, I already feel like, okay, I know them. So we can become buddies very quickly. It's never a problem for me to give them my time card and like checking with them together those numbers during the day. So yeah, it's all about preparation and of course knowing your gear. That's why I think it's so crucial when sound people, they own their own gear and they're so comfortable with using it on set.
And they got to practice. So if they're working on some student projects, it's so important to just go out there and try, make the mistakes before you show up on a set where you're actually getting paid.
So true. Actually, about that, when I just was out of school after my 6 weeks and I start doing exactly, oh my gosh, people, they pay me like $50. Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes, I'm doing it. And I start getting those kind of not angry, but kind of suggested emails from sound people community in New York that like, this is the rate we're supposed to charge. This is how much we're supposed to charge for our equipment. And I'm like, damn, I was just honest with them, honestly. I just really nicely and say, everyone, you know, guys, I just don't feel comfortable. I really think this is how it's supposed to be. Then you're doing it for a while. Then it's because we are charging not only for actually sound and for those files, but we're charging first of all for our experience. And when it's just my second week out of school, I just don't feel comfortable to charge those rates. And then like, oh, okay, yeah, we got you, no worries. And after that, I think it was kind of very turning point for me. Like incredible sound people, they reached me out, that helped me to find a new project. They recommended me for their clients who, for example, they can't afford them anymore, but they all like non-profit organizations, they were busy, for example, they couldn't accept those projects. So yeah, I got a lot of projects in the beginning, especially in my career, from other sound people. So it was really cool.
That's good. Well, Anna, how can people connect with you online?
I think the easiest way is on Instagram. I love Instagram, so I think a lot of sound people, they know me on Instagram already. It's Anna, double N, Sound NY, because of New York. And also for my Facebook and my Gmail, it's the same, Anna, Sound NY.
All right. Well, Anna, I want to say thanks. We appreciate you taking time to kind of share your audio journey with us. So I just want to say thanks to Anna Khromova for being on the podcast.
Thank you so much.
And I'd like to say thanks to everyone for listening. If you have questions or would like us to discuss a particular topic, email us at locationsoundpodcast@gmail.com. Until next time, remember, sound is half the picture.